Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's Leading Peers session, which is focused on the power and value of the DISC assessment. My name is Conor Boland. I am the Chief Talent Officer at Purple Unicorn, and we leverage the DISC assessment quite a bit as we coach our clients through their career journey and act as career advisors along the way. Before jumping into it, I'd love to share a little bit about my background. I have been in recruiting now for just over 10 years. I began in recruiting in 2013 as an agency recruiter. I then joined corporate recruiting in 2015. I started my corporate recruiting career with Microsoft, and Microsoft really allowed me to expand into the corporate conglomerate of recruiting. A lot of my background had been in leadership recruiting and technical recruiting. I've worked at companies such as Hitachi, Amazon, Chewy, and Ford Motor Company. And as you can see there, while at Amazon, one of my proudest accomplishments is I led all the talent and recruitment management for our first AWS building in Portland, Oregon. I have been involved with assessments now for about 5 years as part of my professional career. At Amazon, I helped to create and lead a hiring assessment process for our cloud support engineer population. This assessment would hit on the technical acumen required in the role, but also some of the behavioral attributes required in some of these positions. And since then, I've become a certified DISC assessment coaching expert, which includes driving informed decisions, reducing turnover, and creates high performing teams that yield organizational success for small, medium sized companies and corporate leaders. So, enough about me. I'd love to share a little bit more about the DISC assessment, which is why you're all here today. So, what are some of the benefits of using an assessment? I'll walk through each of these individually. First, we talk about objective evaluation. Assessments provide an objective way to evaluate candidates' skills, knowledge, abilities, and potential fit for the role. This reduces biases in the hiring processes and ensures fair and equitable treatment for all candidates. Secondly, predictive validity. Well-designed assessments can predict job performance. By assessing a relevant candidate's competencies, leaders can make more informed hiring decisions, leading to better job fit, higher employee productivity, and reduced turnover. The assessment also helps with cost and time savings. Assessments streamline the hiring process by identifying the most qualified candidates early on in the process. This reduces time and resources spent on screening and interviewing the quote unquote wrong candidates. It also introduces a proactive talent pipeline and prep for your next vacancy, or you can hire based on potential. We have worked with clients that will proactively send the assessment out to potential candidates or just folks in their network, and they will leverage some of that data to proactively hire. Assessments also help with attrition reduction. Ultimately, assessments are data-driven and it helps hiring the right candidate from the start. This can significantly reduce turnover rates. It can make sure it's a great team fit. Assessments help identify candidates whose skills and values align with the organization's culture, along with the job requirements, which leads to greater job satisfaction and employee retention. The assessment helps with candidate experience. Assessments provide candidates the opportunity to showcase their skills and abilities in a fair and transparent manner. Even if a candidate is not selected, they may appreciate the chance to demonstrate their qualifications, gain experience with your hiring process and brand, and participate in an equitable and inclusive hiring process. I think one of the benefits of the DISC assessment, which we'll get to here in a bit, is this is an assessment that does not take a long time. It should take you maximum 10 to 15 minutes So when we talk about candidate experience, this is not the type of assessment that takes an hour. It also helps with organizational goals. Assessments can be customized to assess specific competencies and qualities that align with the organization's strategic goals and objectives. This ensures that hired candidates have the skills, cultural attributes, and overall investment and drive needed to contribute to the organization's success in the long term. Data-driven decision-making. Assessments generate valuable data on candidates' strengths, weaknesses, and potential for growth. We purposely use the term data-driven because there is no bias in an assessment. This data can be used to inform talent management strategies, training and development initiatives, along with succession planning within the organization. And then lastly, an assessment helps with existing team building and morale. I would really say this is instrumental in team building processes because it provides valuable insights into team dynamics, individual strengths, and areas for development. Benefits can really include understanding those dynamics, promoting trust, understanding team challenges, enhancing productivity and team culture, along with tracking performance and growth. One benefit of the DISC assessment, and the main benefit, I would argue, of the DISC assessment, is it assesses individuals' behavioral styles. And these behavioral styles are different from individual to individual. And when we look at a team setting, every individual is made up a little bit differently. They can have different behavioral styles. The assessment helps us to understand who on each particular teams, who they are, how they operate, and how to best communicate with them as well. So let's dive into the DISC assessment. I kind of hinted at it here, but the DISC assessment assesses individual behavioral styles, values, and motivators across both professional and personal settings. Those who understand their own or another's natural behavioral preferences are far more likely to pursue the right opportunities in the right way at the right time and get the results they desire. The DISC assessment, I always say, it's a great self-awareness exercise. I encourage everybody that takes the DISC assessment to go in with an open mind. It's important to understand your own natural behavioral preferences. If we're doing this in a team setting, it's important to understand others' natural behavioral preferences because, again, not everybody is similar. But if we can understand how that person operates, if we can understand how they best communicate, it increases the team dynamic over time. It increases communication style. It is just another element to bring the team closer and to further understand how each of us operate individually. So what does DISC stand for? DISC stands for decisive, interactive, stability, and cautious. Decisive is your preference for problem solving and getting results. Interactive is your preference for interacting with others and showing emotion. Stability is your preference for pacing, persistence, and steadiness. Cautious is your preference for procedures, standards, and protocols. When we look at these behavior styles, if you were to take the assessment, the DISC assessment specifically, you will notice that you will score high in certain areas. You will score low in certain areas. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. Again, it's a data-driven assessment to understand more about your behavioral styles and where you fall upon, either individually or within the team. It is most common to score high in 3 particular areas and low within another. It's also somewhat common to score high in 2 areas and low in 2 other areas. The DISC assessment also assesses motivation. And I should have clarified one thing the DISC assessment does cover. It's not just your professional behavioral styles or professional motivators. It also incorporates some of your personal behavioral styles and personal motivators. And when I mean personal, I mean in your home life or just who you are as a person, socializing with your friends, all of that good stuff. There are 7 dimensions of motivation listed within the DISC assessment. There is the aesthetic, which is defined as a drive for balance, harmony, and form. There is the economic, which is a drive for economic or practical returns. I will say with the economic, sometimes when clients see this, they automatically think this means that I'm money driven or they're money driven. That is not necessarily the case. You'll notice there it says practical returns. Economic can simply mean somebody that's results oriented. The results don't necessarily have to be financial. If they are, that still falls within the economic category, but it could just be someone that's results driven in their work. They could still fall within the high economic motivation. Individualistic is somebody that is motivated by a drive to stand out as independent and unique. Political is an individual that has a drive to be in control or have influence. Oftentimes, a high political or somebody that scores high with political might be in a leadership position or they're motivated to be in a leadership position. Oftentimes, we'll see CEOs of particular companies score very high with political. Altruist is somebody that is motivated by humanitarian efforts or just wants to help others. An example could be a nurse. Nurses tend to score high in the altruist domain. Regulatory is someone that is motivated by establishing order, routine, and structure. And then theoretical is someone that is motivated by knowledge, learning, and understanding. How can DISC improve company culture? So first and foremost, DISC showcases ideal ways for teammates to communicate and learn. As we coach different teams and different individuals, we will have everybody on that particular team take a DISC assessment. And when you do take a DISC assessment and you receive your results, it is a very visual exercise. So in terms of decisiveness, interactive, stability, and cautious, you'll receive a graph showing where you score on each of those. And same with the motivators. You'll receive a graph in terms of where you score on each of those as well. Obviously, some of these areas you will score high in. Some of these areas you will score low in. Again, there is no right or wrong. I stress that second bullet point on this page. DISC uses a common observable language to assess. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. But when we take the assessment and when we look at the graphs for each individual, in a team setting, we will actually put all those graphs next to one another. So if you have a team of 5, we will have a graph that assesses all 5, or that showcases all 5 decisive scores. We'll have a graph that showcases all 5 interactive scores, all 5 stability scores, all 5 cautious scores. Why we create this visual is because you will have teammates that are a very high interactive. Again, interactive is someone that they might be extroverted. They like to socialize. A low interactive could be someone that's more introverted, prefers their alone time. So when you see a graph of 5 teammates, you can look at who scores high in certain areas, who scores low in certain areas. And it's a great exercise for understanding one another and every single person on the team. I think it's great for managers because you get to understand more about your direct reports and how they operate. I also think it's a great exercise for peers as well, because again, there's this visual shows how we operate, how we prefer to communicate, how we prefer to learn. It also identifies areas of predictable conflict along with individual blind spots as well. The DISC assessment does assess areas of opportunity. It also hits on strengths that individuals bring to the table. Predictable conflict tends to come up more in group settings, such as the one I described with the 5 individuals on a team. There are certain behavioral styles where you can predict conflict ahead of time. Also, it provides insights into one's ideal job profile and company culture. So here at Purple Unicorn, again, we act as company or candidate advisors and client advisors, I should say, and we help them through the entire job search process from beginning to end. And it really helps, the DISC really helps understand their ideal job profile. There is a page dedicated to a client's ideal job profile along with a client's ideal job culture. We find this to be especially important to hiring managers and hiring executives because it's always nice to, make sure that the culture that you have at your company or the culture that you have in this particular role aligns with that of what the candidate is interested in. I will stress the DISC assessment isn't the end all be all by any means, but it is an additional data point that allows us insight into candidates and to clients. And then also, it does provide scalable results for individual development, advancement, and growth planning. In particular, I hint on the areas of opportunity. That is a page that we commonly go back to because we want to proactively be aware of our blind spots. We all have them. We all have areas of opportunity. Sometimes when you see it on a piece of paper, it's just more prevalent in your mind because you have it there. I actually know of several clients that have printed out the page that hits on their areas of opportunity, and they have that on their desk where they post it on their wall, and they do that as a reminder to keep their areas of opportunity in the back of their mind and hopefully overcome those areas of opportunity. As it relates to a few frequently asked questions, naturally cost is top of mind. So the DISC assessment costs $75 per person if we're strictly leveraging the assessment and reviewing results independently. It costs $150 per person for the DISC assessment, plus immersive results review by a certified DISC owner and expert. If anybody was interested in taking the DISC and reviewing it and going with this option, I would likely be the DISC owner and expert to review your results. And then prices for group sessions of 3+ are reduced based on attendee number. That price varies, but ultimately we have found the DISC assessment to be very insightful in team settings. I really do think it encourages team building. A lot of teammates are surprised by the scary accuracy of it all. Not every single thing is right in the assessment, but I would say 90-95% of it is. So group sessions, if you are a CEO, obviously if you are a leader, it's something to keep in mind if you want to do this for your team. Or if you're just a teammate and a peer of somebody and you think it'd be fun to learn more about your team, that's also an option. And then the other common question is, how long does the DISC assessment take to complete? It takes approximately 10 minutes. There are no wrong answers. I stress that. We do encourage folks to complete the assessment as quickly as possible. It's not an exercise where you want to be overthinking every answer. The quicker you complete it, the quicker you complete it, as long as you're giving it some thought, the more likely the results are to align with who you are and how your behavioral styles operate. A couple additional frequently asked questions. What can be expected in the follow-up review session? So if it's a one-on-one review session, it usually lasts about 60 minutes. And Our results really, our review process, I should say, is a discussion that dives deep into the individual motivators along with the DISC behavioral style. So we tend to dive deep into your results with decisive, interactive, stability, and cautious, which is your preferred behavioral style and natural behavioral styles. But we also hit on the motivators as well. It's really a session that helps give individuals insight in terms of how they operate and their behavioral style and what motivates them. The DISC assessment, when you get your results, it is 54 pages. Obviously, that is too much content to cover in a 60-minute session. There are certain areas that we do tend to focus on. A couple other ones that I did not mention, we do hit on the strengths, we hit on your natural style, and then we do hit on your areas of opportunity as well. So as you can see there, we conduct these in one-on-one settings, two-on-one settings if you want to include a direct leader, or in a group setting. In a group setting, it could be longer than 60 minutes. Sometimes they're 90 minutes, sometimes they're a couple of hours. A lot of times we work to meet our clients where they are and come up with a program that best serves them. And then when should a company use a DISC assessment? The DISC assessment can be used in a variety of professional scenarios. It can include team building exercises, leadership retreats. We have conducted these at multiple team offsites to, again, bring teams together, also help understand how we are or how they are as teammates. You also can leverage it for newly hired team members or newly constructed organizations as well. So that is today's session. I hope I was of help. I hope this was insightful to all of you that attended. Again, my name is Conor Boland. You can email me there at cboland@innerpurpleunicorn.com. The additional names listed there are Jenny Smith and Daniela Pinto. Jenny is the CEO here at Purple Unicorn, and Daniela is one of our leadership coaches here at Purple Unicorn. So thank you all so much for your time. I hope to hear from you in the coming days, weeks, and months, and I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you so much.